Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar Open University.
Very good morning, good afternoon, good evening or good night, or at whatever time you are watching this video. Welcome again to the fourth and the final part of our topic on hypothesis. This recording has happened in Chaitanya studio of Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar Open University. Myself, Professor Dilip Barad, Head of the Department of English from Maharaja Krishna Kumar Singh Ji, BAOUGujarat University. Well, so coming to our topic in this Ph.D. coursework, hypothesis for academic research, and our plan of action in 4 parts of this series was to see what is hypothesis and how to formulate or construct hypothesis. So far in different parts, we have seen part 1 video you might have watched, or you can go back and watch. It was about what is hypothesis, what is the function of hypothesis, and what is the nature of hypothesis. And simultaneously, we are looking through all the things regarding quantitative research and qualitative research also. So collectively, we are trying to see what is the purpose of the research so far as quantitative, qualitative is concerned, how hypothesis plays a vital role in that, how analysis may differ in both the things also, and what is the difference between research question in hypothesis, keeping qualitative research and quantitative research in mind. That was also discussed in part 2. In third part, which was a bit longer part, as a little bit of dull part also, lots of theoretical propositions were given in that part. It was about characteristics of good research questions and hypothesis, very important part, though a bit boring part. We also talked about hypothesis of research questions in that, with definitions and examples for quantitative and qualitative. Both the ways we have seen that in part number 3. Now in the final part, today we are going to see the framework for developing research questions and hypothesis, a larger framework for developing research questions and hypothesis. We also will have a look at a general flow for constructing effective research hypothesis and question, general flow. And finally, we will try to overview algorithm for building research question and research hypothesis for both quantitative research as well as for the qualitative research. So let us see in part number 4 how we try to get some idea about framework, general flow and algorithm for research questions and hypothesis in qualitative research and quantitative research. Let me open a PDF document to have a view on this. Okay, so framework, first of all, for developing research question and hypothesis. So first important thing that we find here is that our research has to be having this criteria, the criteria of having this finer criteria. For example, if we see finer criteria, if we try to see, finer means what? Something that is feasible, something that is interesting, something that is novel, ethical and relevant. So something in finer, we see, if we explore the word finer, feasible, interesting, novel, ethical and relevant. So when we think of a framework for our research, let us apply this finer criteria and see whether our research question and our research hypothesis is passing this test or not. Well, apart from this, we also can have some other words for this, like PICOT or PO framework, PICOT or PO framework, for example, if we try to see. So PICOT is P for population, I for intervention, or indicator being studied, C for comparison group, O for outcome of interest, T for time frame of the study. So that is PICOT, from population or problem to intervention of indicator being studied, comparison, outcome of interest, and time frame of the study there. Or if you see PEO criteria, then we can say P for population being studied, E for exposure to pre-existing conditions, and O outcome of interest that we can study in this there. So research questions are also considered good if these meet the finer maps. Third point here is finer maps framework, for example. Finer maps stands for feasibility, interesting, novel, ethical, relevant, manageable, appropriate, potential value, publishable, and systematic. So this finer maps will incorporate all those things, that how far your research question or hypothesis is from feasible to systematic. How is it from feasible to systematic, we can see here. So let us take this as a base for the framework of the thing, and let us try to see how we can structure our questions and hypothesis, constructing research questions and hypothesis. What points we have to keep in mind here? To construct effective research questions and hypothesis, it is important to, first of all, we need to clarify the background. Yes, first, before we construct, clarify the background. Second point, identify the research problem at the outset of the research within a specific time frame. And third, review or conduct preliminary research to collect all available knowledge about the possible research questions by studying theories and previous studies, which obviously will come as a part of literature review. As a part of our literature review, we will be able to know about our previous studies, which is very, very important part here. And fourth, construct research questions to investigate the research problems. Construct research questions to investigate research problems there. Then identify the variables necessary there to be assessed from the research questions, and make operational definitions of constructs from research problems and questions. Thereafter, fifth point, construct specific deductive or inductive predictions in the form of hypothesis. Sixth one, finally, state the study aims. State the study aims. So if we look at this again from right from the beginning, because this is a very important point after deciding a framework. After framework, when we sit down to construct a research question, 6 important points step by step are very, very important to be kept in mind here. Clarify the background. First one, clarify the background. Second one, identify the research problem. Identify the research problem. Third one, review or conduct preliminary research. Review or conduct, do literature review. Very extensive, very important part. Fourth one, construct research questions. Now, construct your research questions. We know now research questions are not hypotheses, but they are very important stepping stone to reach to hypothesis. This questions. Fifth one, construct specific deductive or inductive predictions. Deductive or inductive predictions. And finally, state your study aims, your aims and objectives to do this study there. I hope this framework and this points, 6 points to construct a research hypothesis will help you a lot in clarifying all the doubts around your research to move on. Then what to do? After working in this aspect, we have to see like this table here will try to help you to test whether your work is in proper direction or not. With some examples we can see here, and it also tries to give ambiguous example that what is problem with research question. So here let us take two case studies. Two case studies we take here. Two case studies to see that how research can be ambiguous. It can be ambiguous. The question can be ambiguous, or even the hypothesis, and the result may not be quite proper also. So here is a research question. Yeah? Which is more effective between smoke moxibustion and smokeless moxibustion? For example, this way the question is raised here. It is said that, it is said in this research paper that this is a very vague or an unfocused question. It is a very vague and unfocused question. Closed questions are simply unanswerable by yes or no. Closed. These are points to be avoided when we prepare our question. Yeah? Point 1, vague and unfocused questions. Closed and questions simply unanswerable by yes or no. Questions requiring simple choice. Avoid this. This is to be avoided while drafting the question. Now from there, when we move to hypothesis in this example, from the question, this question, the hypothesis we have come here is the smoke moxibustion group will have higher cephalic presentation. Well, let us see what is the problem here. It is undeniable hypothesis. It is we can't falsify this hypothesis. As Karl Popper we cited and we referred that hypothesis should be the chance of falsifiability or verify another. It should not be a kind of a fact where undoubtedly something happened. That is a poor hypothesis. Then incompletely stated groups comparison here, and insufficiently described variables or outcomes. The variables and the outcomes are insufficiently described here, and that is why this research question and hypothesis has these problems which one has to keep in mind also. The research objective which emerged from this also, research objective, the aim, the final part we have seen in the earlier page, to determine which is more effective between smoke moxibustion and smokeless moxibustion. The problem here is this: poor understanding of the research question and hypothesis. Poor understanding of research question as well as hypothesis. Insufficient description of population, variables or study outcomes. So I think this one case study here about ambiguity around research question, research hypothesis and research objective may help you, or at least you also can try to see in this particular fashion that whether your research questions here is in this column is giving you appropriate answer or not. Your research questions or your hypothesis or your research objective, three things importantly you can keep in mind: 1, 2 and 3. These three things, by keeping in the mind, can we come down to the things that it is okay or not. That is one example which you can try and test on your own to justify that. Okay, let us move to the another case study here. The another example here, let us see this. So here is example of ambiguous research question hypothesis that result in unclear weak research objective, qualitative research, how to transfer them into clear and good statement and points to be avoided, how to avoid these mistakes that we see here. So research question again, number 1, hypothesis number 2 and research objective. Three important things to check our things here. Now 1, 2 and 3. Okay. So, one example is given here, but instead of going into this example, what we want to see is points to be avoided, which is very important. Dear watchers, the pursuance of PhD program, I would suggest you that this link of this article will be provided through my PPT also, as well as in the additional reading resources also. You will find this PDF copy of this. So, do not worry in case you are not able to follow all the words here on the screen. You will get the link to download this document wherein you will be able to access it thoroughly. But I strongly recommend you to go through these 2 case studies where what problems or what mistakes are being made by the research scholar here. And importantly, keep on mind on these points to be avoided. So, here we see that this is ambiguous or oversimplistic question. It is ambiguous or oversimplistic question. Questions unverified by data collection and analysis. This is unverified data collection here. Then statements simply expressing facts here, and along with that insufficiently described concepts or variables. Finally, in the research objectives, statements unrelated to the research questions and hypothesis, unattainable or unexplorable objectives. Now, see, unattainable or unexplorable objectives are there, which is a huge problem or huge mistake that one might be committing when they look at this also. So, these 2 case studies and this that what points are there which we have to avoid perhaps gives us an idea that what simple mistakes perhaps we are making. What you have to check is only 3 things: research question, hypothesis and research objective. Just by looking at these 3 things, perhaps you will be able to overcome simple mistakes, or you can like screw tight your research proposal with the help of this document here. Okay. This is what we understand as general flow for constructing effective research questions and hypotheses prior to conducting research. Yes, general flow here. So, it starts with first point here. Yes, very first point: clarify the study background. Yes, clarify the study background. Second one, identify the research problem. Third point, review or conduct preliminary research. Third point. Fourth, construct the research question. Fourth point, construct the research question. Fifth, develop the research hypothesis. And sixth is the study aim, the aim and objective. So, how you can move from the background study that you have done. Many times it so happens that while doing our studies at our graduation years or during post graduation years, we have already done studies and we have also identified that, well, this is something which I want to know more. There were some questions which remain unanswered in our classrooms when we were in PG classes. Now, that all becomes our first point. That is the first point. Your study background is already there. A little bit of deep digging into that, we can clarify those things, that what was that then, what is it now here. And then we can try to identify research problem around those things. But after that, this is an important phase. This phase is very important, third one, where we have literature review. And maybe it may happen that the problems which were not sorted out here during PG years may find an answer in literature review. Maybe perhaps it may find an answer in literature review. Then there is no need to do further research. But in case still after doing your literature review, you find that there is a gap, because this is normally for identifying the gap in research. So, gap in research is identified with this. So, when this literature review is done and we find a gap, it becomes easy for constructing the research question, because you got a gap now and it is easy to fill the gap. So, research question is not problematic if you found a research gap. Very important to find this. And then converting a question into hypothesis, just watch third part of our video. You will find a variety of way of looking at what are the hypotheses which can be framed from research questions. So, for quantitative researchers, there are lots of possibilities of having variety of hypotheses. For qualitative researchers, there are lots of research questions which needs to be explored or explained in different manner. That is all in part number 3 of our video. And finally, if that is done, then study aims. Aims and objectives of our research is not going to be problematic at all in framing the things there. So, this is general flow of our research there. Finally, let us see this algorithm. This is the algorithm, and we will have a view at 2 algorithms simultaneously. One is for quantitative research and the another is for qualitative research. One for quantitative, the another for qualitative research, and that is where we will try to see the parallel. It will also give again another flow chart or algorithm to work for our research proposal. At the same time, it also will very much clarify in our mind the difference between quantitative research and qualitative research also. Simultaneously, we will watch both the things there. Okay. So, this is for the qualitative research, qualitative one, and here is a make observations or no background, make observations, no background of unknown or unclear area. And when we see the another one, we find that select a topic. I will encircle for this is for qualitative research. Okay. Qualitative, qualitative, and the previous one, let me bring that previous one. This is for quantitative research. Okay. Quantitative research. So, it becomes very clear here. Okay. So, make observations or no background of unknown and unclear research. Okay. This is qualitative research here. And the next one we get here is select a topic of interest or importance in qualitative research here. Second point, identify need or gap in unknown or unclear area. What is there for qualitative researcher? Clarify background information about the topic here. Okay. Clarify background information, qualitative research. Third step, formulate research questions, quantitative. Formulate research questions there. When we see qualitative research, identify the state, identify and state the research problem here. Okay. Again, going back to the quantitative research, develop hypothesis to predict outcomes. Develop hypothesis now in quantitative research, whereas what you do in qualitative research, formulate research questions to investigate a research problem. I think the difference is getting very clear in your mind. Qualitative and quantitative research, the difference about how qualitative research relies a lot on formation of hypothesis, but for qualitative research, what is important is formation of research questions, there, that gets clear here also. Okay. So, this is again going to quantitative research, specify study aims, point number 5. Qualitative research, state the study aims. State the study aims. If I see in quantitative one, formulate the plan to test or verify hypothesis, whereas into qualitative research, choose methods, sites, subjects for research. See how now things are changing here. Point number 7 here, collect and analyze data, quantitative analysis, or even if it is qualitative analysis, it is similar. It is similar, collect and analyze data in both the aspect, it is quite similar here. 8th one, in quantitative data, verify hypothesis based findings. Verify hypothesis based finding here at 8th step, whereas in qualitative work you will find that complete the work and look for concepts and theories. So, you are going towards now hypothesis in qualitative work. So, complete the work and look for concepts and theories there. See the difference between qualitative and quantitative formation of research questions as well as hypothesis. And then in quantitative work, make final conclusions. Quantitative, make final conclusions. Here, revise the research questions if necessary, or begin to form hypotheses. This is qualitative research. Now, final stage, your conclusion is going to form the new hypothesis for the further qualitative quantitative research. Finally, the final part, quantitative research, state recommendations. State recommendations, final part of quantitative research, whereas here in qualitative research, complete conceptual framework and make conclusions here. So, this two flow charts, or let us say this two algorithm and comparative algorithm of qualitative and quantitative, gives us something very significant about formation of research questions and hypothesis for the research work. I hope you will be able to first identify what is your research. For example, is it qualitative or quantitative, and based on that you will apply all these things. For example, let me very quickly overview the things here that we have undergone. First we have seen the framework in terms of finer, from that to Picot, Poe, and then we also try to look finer maps. Then we asked six parameters to construct research questions here. Then we have seen 2 examples here as a case study to see whether what kind of simple mistakes might be committed by the research scholars in framing research question, hypothesis or research objective that we have seen. Then we have seen this general flow chart from first to the 6th step, how we move on slowly and steadily. And finally, we have taken a case study of quantitative algorithm and qualitative algorithm to try to see that what are the difference in both the researches here. Okay. So, going back here, we see that in this final presentation, the part 4 of this presentation, we have discussed about frameworks for developing research questions and hypothesis. We have seen general flow for constructing effective research questions and hypothesis prior to conducting a research, and finally we have seen algorithm for building research questions and hypothesis for quantitative and qualitative research here. Okay. So, this is how this all parts that we have seen here might be helping us. So, just a recap of all the 4 parts that we have done. In part 1 we dealt with what is hypothesis, and that in part 2 we try to look at quantitative qualitative way of looking at the purpose and the analysis of research questions and hypothesis. In part 3 we have seen characteristics of good research questions and hypothesis, and we also have tried to have a look at different examples of quantitative and qualitative research in hypothesis as well as research questions. And in the final part we have seen some examples for framing framework, general flow and algorithm for quantitative research and qualitative research. I hope these 4 parts of videos along with the PowerPoint presentation and few additional reading material which will be shared with all the research scholars, will help you in framing a very qualitative research proposal. And we hope that whatever you have learnt as a part of formation of hypothesis will help you a lot in making a quality research. I wish all of you a best of luck for a quality research work. Have a wonderful research journey. Thank you everybody for having a patience listening of all these video lectures. Thank you everybody and wish you all the best for your research journey.